Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first episode of Taking America Camping. This is going to be an RV Industry Insider podcast brought to you by us, TNS RV and Sport. We are down in the great state of Texas. And my name is Tim Meadows. I'm the co-owner of TNS. I'm joined today, as you can see here on screen, by Tex MAXSON, my longtime friend and business partner, and Matt Cameron, who is our executive director of parts and service here at TNS. We're excited to get this project started. This is something that we've been working on for a while now, trying to get the three of us sitting still at one time and overcome any and all present technical difficulties is not as easy as it might sound. But our goal here is going to be to bring something to the market that we don't think has existed before, which would be along the lines of what we do at TNS, which is doing things quite different. We are hoping to, for lack of a better term, pull back the curtain a little bit, show consumers, RV fans, some of the inner workings of what happens in the industry from a dealer standpoint, as well as offer some valuable insight and add value to that overall market through education. So, gentlemen, welcome to it. Episode 1, finally off the schneid here. So what I'd like to do first is to give each of you guys a chance to kind of explain what it is that you're hoping, individually, and because we're all coming at this from our different angles because of our different roles within TNS. But if you could give us a quick rundown on what it is that you're hoping that this podcast, Taking America Camping, might be able to bring to the general RV market.
Sure. You want to go first, Matt? Or?
Yeah, for myself, I think it's transparency. Just want to open the window to the customer service side and the delivery side and what our expectation is and the what we want to provide for the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we're hoping for here is to consistently pass along a message that is an open dialogue from the owners of a volume operation. We're not a 10 or 20 or 30 location operation. We're 3, but and we do that just simply from the standpoint of being able to stay one-on-one with each of our deals and each of our customers and each of our units and running through PDI, touching each one. We like to say we touch 100% of them. There's probably some that maybe get in and out if we're on rare occasion not here. But while that happens, we are very much a hands-on operation. And in this group, you'll be familiar or getting familiar with the owners of the operation, and then Matt, who takes care of, will oversee all of the service activity, which of course is always a big part of any RV operation that provides a service as much as a unit to purchase, So because obviously we all know in the RV world and any other world really, it doesn't matter if you're buying a vehicle or a tractor or a lawnmower or a house. There's always maintenance to be done. So, but we like to think that we jump in and provide that on a rare basis, being that we all are, again, hands-on. We could well be a 10 location operation, but we would lose that everyday hands-on scenario because we can't be in 10 places at one time, obviously. So, so what we try and do is sell as many as possible out of the fewer locations and just be our goal is to be the best at what we do from the price and service and experience side. Obviously by doing this and having this in open forum, receiving topics and questions from people that we can then come back to discuss at each broadcast. We, of course, we put all of our dirty laundry out there. If we mess something up,
Sure.
we just own it, and if we're receiving criticism that we don't deserve, we're going to mention that too. And
Right.
so, but we'll take it on the chin. We're big boys. So if your questions about the function or the process or the purchase, fees, a big thing today is a lot of places advertise a price, and then when you get there, you pay several $1,000s in fees. Well, fees are nothing more than raising the sale price. Okay, so and that needs to be known, because we have this conversation with different people. I'm going to tell you, no less than 100 times a month consistently.
That's the most conservative estimate I think that you could have given us.
Exactly. So not to exaggerate, right? And so because well, so-and-so is matching your price. Well,
Right.
What about their fees? Well, they said they don't have any. Well, they don't tell you until you get there.
Sure.
So now you're sitting at the finance desk. You've driven however far to get to that location. And then the finance manager has to then disclose, oh, by the way, you've got a $3,000 PDI fee, just as an example, and you've got a $3,500 transportation fee. Well, now your price just went up by $7,000.
Right. And it bears saying out loud that, these are the types of fees that, especially in the state of Texas, as we talk about all the time, those fees can't be line itemed onto a purchase agreement, because they have to be rolled into the sales price, because they are subject to sales tax,
Right.
which is, what has given rise to, what I've got written on my board over here that stays on this board most of the time. And it's just that, fees that are taxed are de facto sales price.
Yeah,
so
that's exactly right.
That ad price is now a completely different topic. When that number swells and it has to be taxed, then there's no other way than to call it sales price.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's one of many topics that we have, already lined up. Right. We've got some stuff that we're going to cover today. We've got some things that we're planning for future episodes, because we want to be able to, when we get into them, go as deep into them as we need to, in order to cover that all, and to cover it in depth in a way that, again, is going to fall into line with what the goal of our whole project here is to bring clarity and education to the RV consumer market, right?
Sure.
Instead of playing the game where we're hiding what those numbers are that most dealers do, like we're going to help to lay it out and illustrate it 100%, so that if buyers truly do come across that unicorn of a deal, right, that deal that's too good to be true, like, we're going to tell them, hey, you should buy that, because if you don't, maybe I will. Because that's a deal that even as a dealer, like, that doesn't make any sense to me, looking at what it would be for me to buy it new from the manufacturer. So if you don't go buy it, maybe I should go buy it.
And we see this on a daily basis, because we sell, let's just say more than half of what we sell is out of state.
Yes, sir.
And
Always
so,
has been.
and it's because of the brand, the price, and the product, and the people. So we had one just the other day again, where this particular customer found the same unit that was close to where he was, and it's about 1,100 miles from us. And anyway, we were beating that price by $22,000, and so the guy, of course, they go to their local store and say, hey, these guys are beating you by $22,000, and then they match it, right? But at least then we kept that customer from just getting walloped on the price, So nothing else will keep people honest, but again, always keep in mind, and I'm going to mention this on a regular basis because I consider it to be deceptive. But when you go in and pay a fee, your fee is your sale price. So if you were priced at $80,000 on a unit, and you got in there and it was $80,000 plus 5 or 4 or 3 or 2 or $10,000 in fees, the price is $90,000, not $80,000. customers. Okay, so you went in under false pretenses, and then if you decide to purchase, then that's up to you. But at least you know going in what that is, right?
Right.
So
we're already on this topic.
yeah,
For my money, I think that we could probably just expand on this now.
sure.
Right. So I want to bring Matt in on this because Matt comes to us. He's been with TNS now for going on 2 years, right? But Tex and I have known. We don't know if it's 2 years, 2 weeks, 2 decades. It all feels the same around here.
Yeah.
But Matt, we've had a working relationship with Matt that stretches back 9 years since the very first days of TNS.
9 years.
Of handling new inventory because Heartland RV was our first manufacturing partner. And Matt, if you would give us a quick breakdown of your background before coming to TNS to run parts and service in-house for us.
So starting in the RV industry was 1995. So, pushing close to 30 years in RV industry. Realistically, 3 manufacturers: Dutchman, Forest River, and Heartland. Last 19 years was with Heartland. I was a senior director of customer service, ran the parts and service department for them. Been there a long time, and a company that it was really hard to leave.
Sure. It only took me 4.5 years of recruiting you to get you down here.
And in saying that, there was really one place that I was going to go, and this was it. To uproot a whole family, uproot kids and relocate them to new schools and sell a house and buy a house. It was a big move for us, family-wise.
100 miles.
But I'm saying one place in the country I would go. And that's where I'm at.
We're very glad that you're here, my brother. The face of parts and service in-house at TNS has changed. And to think that of the level of change that has happened inside of a 2-year span, the math almost doesn't math, when you step back and you take that cloud level view of it. So to say that we're glad you're here would be the understatement of the year. But so with your background, I wanted to go into under the topic of fees Texie, I think you'll agree, one of the most common things that we hear when we do have those customers that have gotten far enough into the process, they've gotten into the box at a big box dealership, or they've made a trek across country, and they get that big surprise. Here's the change in the price structure because of these fees. One of the biggest line items that we hear is a PDI fee.
Yeah.
So Matt, if you could, with your background from the OEM level, but also being on the service side here in-house at TNS, take us through the way that a PDI actually works in terms of, what is happening, just broad view, but then, how is it possible that a customer ought to be asked to pay for a PDI?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because I've been on the receiving end of that call with a customer looking to buy a new unit saying, hey, is it normal that I spend X amount of dollars to have the PDI done for my unit? So it's very common out there that dealers are charging those fees.
Yeah, we hear it every day.
What we're looking at on a PDI is something that should happen on every RV before anyone ever touches it on a new purchase or used purchase for that matter.
Right.
But 170-point inspection, you test every aspect of the RV, upfitted with a battery, upfitted with propane, and test every system, accessory, fit, form, function, aesthetics, go through the same from top to bottom. Make sure it is operating at 100% before you give it to your customer.
So one thing I didn't do is, for anybody that is perhaps unaware, PDI is an acronym for pre-delivery inspection.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So we know we've signed enough dealer agreements over the years, Tex, with manufacturing partners to know that PDI is part of our responsibility. Like we're required to do this before we submit an owner's warranty registration. Like if we're putting the unit into this new owner's name, this is supposed to have been completed by us, right? Yeah. So
Absolutely.
again,
Right.
it comes down to like this is something that should be almost like a non-starter in terms of is it going to happen or not. The other thing is these are new units that are under warranty. They're under warranty from the manufacturer when they arrive to us. So if there's things that need to be corrected, these things are corrected through the warranty process. So in framing TNS's stance on PDIs is we're not charging the customer a line item for this work that A, we're required by our dealer agreement to do. B, this is something that ought to be done for the customer's good and their protection, because I think the three of us can agree the next perfect RV on arrival will be the first, right? We've handled thousands of them over the years from in every shape, form, function that you can imagine, and there's always something that needs to be corrected. It's the nature of the beast, right? We're in Texas. We're 1,142 miles from Elkhart, Indiana. Like that, it's got to make its maiden voyage is cross country. So the idea that something might not shake loose or something just doesn't need to have some sort of a tune-up is really
something
out of the question. It's not going to happen. So we advise customers all the time, like if you're being asked to pay for that service, you should really understand that dealer, the work that is being done, they're being compensated for it already by the manufacturing partner, right?
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, that's right. And that's, and again, that's the service that we provide. So we're not upcharging for that or changing our sale price after the unit is here, it rolls into PDI. And then so the customer comes in to pick their unit up, it's setting in PDI. At that point, it's been sitting there running for, a minimum of 24 hours, with gas,
typically
power,
48 to 72 underwater pressure.
Right. Sure. And then you're also more than welcome to come in and, we have PDIs that take, deliveries that take an hour.
Sure.
We'll have deliveries that take 3 or 4 days. If someone decides to come in, again, a lot of them being out of state, they'll come in, they have a trade, they have things to transfer over. That takes a day or two sometimes. Right. And so by all means, we'll put your trade next to the unit that you're purchasing and just move things over as you can. And like I said, sometimes it takes a day, sometimes it takes a week. Either way is fine. We'll just sit there, and as you have questions through the week, for instance, we'll be more than happy to just jump in there and keep making adjustments for you and or just answering questions, So along with PDIs, we always recommend that a customer will have a unit inspected by an outside source. We do not offer that inspection in-house because we want that to be a third-party scenario for the customer's sake,
a divergence of interest, right? Like we don't want there to be, conflict there.
An outside set of eyes, basically, right? And so we miss something. And a lot of the guys that we use a guy locally often, and we'll call Mike and he'll come in and he'll do his thing. And it takes a day typically for him to run the inspection. And we'll have things as minor as tightening a screw, Sure. And so, but by all means, there's no charge for that from our perspective. Now, of course, Mike charges for that, but TNS doesn't charge for having a tech follow the inspector around or any of that stuff. And we more than welcome Mike to come in and or whomever somebody else chooses to come in and do their inspection. So at that point, a unit has been thoroughly checked out,
Oh, no.
And so it's been gone over and gone over and gone over and gone over. So really, other than after the fact, it's home, it's on another trip, it's down a bumpy road, it's all this other stuff happens, you're going to have some stuff that needs to be done probably.
Of course.
And realistically, if we deliver 1,000 to 1,200 units a year, we're probably going to have well, on average, we have 2, a year-ish that something came up right away. We had to jump on it. We took care of it. Through just the Bryan location alone, we'll run 175 to 200 units a month through the service department.
Yes.
So you're talking about 2,000 and 3,000 units a year consistently. We miss something once in a while. Oh yeah, sure. But we promise we'll take care of it too, so if we have that few, a year, say less than 10, right? That we missed something on, we had to go back and fix it. We're just going back and fix it. But yeah, I mean, it can happen, so.
Sure. And while we're still on this, shout out to Mike Reagan with MRRV Services, the inspector that you're talking about. He is local to the Bryan College Station area.
Sure.
Mike has probably done 50 unit inspections over the last several years, just out of the Navasota location.
Sure.
We always welcome Mike in. He's a great guy. He's fair. We ask him all the time, like, hey man, whatever you feel like you need to point it out. We try to work with him while he's here, that if there's something that you come across that we can get fixed before you finish, I would invite you to make sure that you include that in the inspection report, but also be able to show the customer who has hired Mike that it was pointed out. Here's the photo of it previous. Before I was done, I pointed it out to the guys. They jumped in, got it knocked out. Here's the photo of the repair completed, right? And no matter what, when he's done, he'll always make sure that we get a copy of the inspection report the day that it's completed. So that we can get to work on it right away. So we've been through PDI, we've been through outside inspection. Let's talk a little bit, Matt. I think one of the words that gets misunderstood quite frequently, especially with our first-time buyers, is the word that we use, delivery, right? So walk us through a little bit about the idea of here at TNS, what it means to go through a delivery or to take delivery of your unit.
No, so on top of that PDI, we're going to have a list, and we're going to be transparent with that list that we're going to show to you. Right. This is going to be part of the delivery process. We're going to show you everything that we touched, everything that we repaired if necessary, and we're going to go through every function of every button in the RV with you and every operation of the RV with you. So it'll be systematic, walk around the outside of it, show you every item, how to use it, answer any questions you might have. If you're a first-time buyer or fifth RV, maybe there's something that's changed for you. But we're going to walk through every operation that show you how to operate your slides, awnings, how your water heater works, how to light your oven, every step of the way. And the key part is when you leave, we want you to leave there understanding how to operate that. It's going to create less questions for you, less questions for us and the OEM.
Right. And we've had multiple instances over the years. I mean, and it happens more and more frequently where customers will ask us, well, can I video that? And my answer is always, absolutely.
Yeah.
Our technicians are fine with it. They know what they're doing. They know their way around things. They know what they're demonstrating, because we're using the technicians who did the inspection itself to do that delivery with very few exceptions. Right. Just if we got triple booked or double booked and somehow we had to pull another technician from that same team over to do the actual unit demo piece. But an overwhelming majority of the time, the technician who actually did all of the setup, the testing, and everything on your particular unit that you are going through that demonstration and that delivery process on, you're doing that with the guy who made those repairs. So he can speak to it with a very detailed knowledge of anything that was encountered, what had to be done. And again, you're getting a printout, right? With all of the technician's notes, you're taking a physical copy of that printout home with you. So that the same copy that is submitted to the OEM, along with the owner's warranty registration paperwork, you're taking a copy of that home. So, if we have to fix something, we don't mind that this is now yours. I feel better with you knowing what we had to do. right? So yeah, I asked it that way about, what does delivery mean? Because we'll get people like, hold on, I'm coming to get it. Like, okay, that's a different delivery, right? The whole different can of worms in terms of, units being transported to someone. But so that would cover us on the delivery piece.
Well, and kind of extending upon that same subject, I'd like to let Matt for just a second. So the description of Matt's general daily obligation is that we have service managers at each location and that manager then is managing that service department. Matt will oversee each of the service departments as a director. And so just to give you an idea, you'll figure out why Matt stays lean and looks like he's a runner, because if you give a kind of a general rundown of your 8 o'clock start and 5:30 finish every day, the time that you get for lunch or take for lunch.
Yeah.
So just a general rundown, you'll get a feeling of just how busy the service department is.
Yeah, not much lunch by the look of
it. Right. Yeah, exactly. It's a handful of peanuts on the run, but nonetheless, if you wouldn't mind, it'll be easy for you. Start at 8 and run through your day. I mean, it'll be the express version.
The day kind of starts at 8, but it starts on the right end because I'm usually talking to the 2 service managers at the other 2 locations that I'm not going to visit that day on the right end. So touch base with those 2. Whichever location I'm at for the day, hit the shop floor, check our board, see what's delivering, do a run through PDI, make sure those are looking good, hit the service side, see what heat cases we have with customers, and trying to get units in and out quickly, make sure that those are flowing like they should. On the PDI side, once a delivery is in process, I try to touch base with the customer. If I can, meet them, shake a hand, introduce myself, give them a card. Direct point of contact, I'm easy to reach. Talk with that customer, answer any questions, see how our PDI went. I want to make sure that they were comfortable with the walkthrough they got. I'm 100% confident in all of our PDI service techs. I want to make sure that everything went well. I know it did, but I ask anyways. And just make the rounds. It's a continuous process, answering calls throughout the day from the other 2 locations, helping them with questions, going through a list of customers, calling with updates. It's a continual process, happens every single day.
Yeah, and that's not even to mention the checking in. You've mentioned all the technicians and all the spots in the shop. That's not even to mention, we've got a parts counter in every location. Yeah. And we have service advisors and we have claims agents, right, that are processing all of these claims that the technicians are bringing in. So all those are under your purview as well. And I know, from tailing you around Navasota, that you're hands-on at every step in the journey there. So.
Yeah. There's 100 things that I didn't include. They're small steps. I may hop on a tractor and move a unit up for a customer and hand it to them personally and do the walkthrough with them. I may handle somebody at the parts counter, ask some questions, answer some questions up there, and assist our parts team. Continuous training with our claims processing team, understanding that they know how to process a claim properly. Just continually looking at everything. Just 100% overview.
Well, and Matt will also take, I'm going to say, no less than 25 to 30 calls a day from me, because, I'm also out there glutting for punishment, because another thing that I'll start around 3:30 to 4 o'clock in the morning on with scrolling through different posts and social media and that type thing, and seeking out people that maybe bought a unit somewhere and they're not getting help like they feel like they need. So they're needing to reach out to the factory and get help there. With a lot of the manufacturers, that's exactly what we do. We try and get somebody to come here, and let's say they're west of us and the plant is east of us. There's times when we're half the distance from where they are to the plant. So rather than go there to get a repair, we'll try and get here if we can help. And of course, then I initiate that scenario, for instance, and then I'll throw it to Matt. I'm sure he appreciates that. And
I was like, congratulations or condolences, Matt. I'm not sure which one is more in order.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we didn't sell the unit, but nonetheless, we'll still try and help. And then, of course, it makes sense for us. We create another relationship with another person, and in theory, the next time they're ready to purchase, they'll come and see us. Even if they're from California or Arizona or wherever, as an example. There's a lot of times when it makes sense for people to drive to see us for a repair from, say, a California scenario, just as an example, because we'll get them in, get them out, so the unit doesn't have to set during that time period. As long as we have it all arranged and we get parts ahead of time and so on, then we'll just try and keep them on a turn. And so anyway, Matt inherits all of those middle of the morning scenarios from me too. So,
well, I was going to say, if you're only calling him 25 to 30 times a day, you're going to have to pick up your game.
Right.
I'm wearing the dude out.
Right.
Consistently, because Matt's a landing spot for all ideas, good or bad. Right. He serves somewhat, I think, as a filter between you and I at times, even texts where I've got an idea that's so wild, I'm not even sure if it sounds right that I could bring it to you yet. I'm gonna run it by Matt, see what he thinks.
Sure.
Matt, do you think you can support this level of insanity that I have brewing in my brain before I take it? So, Matt again is a guy that does so many things, and what I have really enjoyed watching happen in the process of since he came on with us is the evolution of the service department and the moving from what Tex and I were always good at is we can create a result. We may burn the rest of the village down that we're left to double back and clean up ourselves for the sake of the result. Matt has been able to come in and help us with implementation of processes and making sure that we've got all those steps in line covered so that the rebuild process isn't nearly as much for us or for anyone else that's left in our wake, because we're both doers. So when we go to going to get something done, now we've got a lot more guardrails, maybe. That's a good thing to describe that I need, right? Something in these lines.
Well, and just to give everyone a perspective, I mean, it takes an individual who is completely dedicated to the program, and also has the first God-given talent to be able to, for the patients and that type thing, to work through all of that we throw at Matt, because and then a guy with that experience and that personality, it's a wide open dedication on a daily basis just to get to everything, so and the years of experience that go along with this in order to make it work well. I mean, Matt's only 26 years old. You wouldn't think so.
He looks great. He's got 30 years of experience. He's only 26 years old.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Miracle of modern medicine.
That's how time flies. Right.
Yeah. So just goes to show if you're not sitting still, then you'd be backing up. But
yeah. And I think one thing to talk about on that topic too is continued improvement.
There you go.
We've done a lot of positive things in a lot of areas, but we're always looking for that weak spot. Where can we improve? What can we do better for the customer experience? And it's about that customer experience. Are they getting the proper communication? Are we getting the unit done in a timely manner? Do we have the right parts on stock? Are OEMs communicating with us well enough? Like our recent add-on to the company has been paint and body. Without going too deep in that's something that we were always searching for, and we were able to bring that in-house to do full paint and body repairs.
Yeah, shout out to Bob in the back.
Yeah,
and to your son Eli, who is you said this morning he's a couple of days away from being completely certified on the color match piece on the paint. And, big step, so So shout out to those guys. That has been a really cool addition. To be able to handle. And it came right at the right time, right? With the addition of some new product lines that we see a lot more paint. There's always going to be the need for the body repair because, as long as there are power poles or guardrails and people are towing RVs, they're going to find a way to make those two meet up.
Tree limbs help too.
Yeah.
They seem to be the worst. Yeah.
You had to bring a guy in with 41 years experience. You mentioned Bob briefly. I mean, that guy's his work is amazing, and what he's bringing to our team, it really takes that to the next level for us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it didn't take us long, guys. It was our first time around the sun on this, and it didn't take us long to jump the shark on our agenda. So I'm going to do my best here to just kind of double us back, and kind of as we start to put a bow on this first episode. I think we should share, Tex, at least a glimpse back into the backstory of TNS, right? And how did TNS RV, how did TNS Enterprises become TNS RV and Sport to what we are in our current form? So I'm gonna kick that over to you, if you would, and if you just kind of take us back to the very, very beginning origins. And we'll kind of work together here as we work through the evolution of what TNS has become.
Sure. So I guess to go back a little ahead of TNS, Tim and I, when we were really young, our parents did things together.
Yep.
And then, growing up, we both were into different sports and that type of thing. And then I coached Tim in Little League baseball when he was 12. So, point is we've known each other for a while.
Yeah. I grew up watching high school football games that you played in, and Gretchen in the office next door was a diamondette dancer at,
Sure.
Small town living, right? Like we all know each other, and even though that we're not exactly the same age, but you grow up in a town of, 6,400 people. There's a greater than zero chance that you're going to rub some elbows.
Sure. Well, and then I grew up in the car business. So I've been in a dealership since literally, 5, 6 years old on up, because that's what my dad did. And I was an only child. So going to work was kind of the going to the park thing. That's just what we did, So then after years in the car business, I was just really burned out on the car side. And so Tim and I used to see each other every day, not every day, on the days that we were picking up the kids from school.
It got to be almost every day.
It was. Yeah, that's right. So we, of course, knew each other. So we'd stand there and wait for the kids to get out. Well, I told Tim one day, I said, hey, man, I got an idea. If you want to swing by the house sometime, I'll kind of run it by you and see what you think. And it was to buy and sell used RVs. Right. So then we started out with that. And just kind of worked our way into it. Tim had another company at the time that he was actively involved with of his own, and so we would purchase and sell used RVs. Well, there was certain lines that we weren't able to find consistently. So then I jumped on internet one day and Googled toy hauler RVs, and Heartland popped up. So I called Heartland and said, hey, look, we're sitting here in this part of Texas, and we'd like to get involved with some of your toy haulers. And the guy that answered the phone, his name was Tiny, or that they dispatched me to rather, his name was Tiny. And he said, well, I don't handle toy haulers, but I'll give you the guy who does. I said, well, what do you handle? He said, North Trail. I said, well, is that available? And he looked it up. He said, you know what, you guys are sitting in a pretty good spot in Texas. Yeah, it probably is available. And so we ended up with North Trail and Cyclone and Torque. And then really working out of my shop at the house. And then we went and bought this little building that was our office after that. And went from there to being the top Heartland location in Texas. And then very shortly after that, we were the top Heartland location in the nation. And then we built the store in 19 that's in Navasota, and then moved over to the Bryan store about 1.5 and a half after that, and then moved into Livingston about a year and a half after that. And so here we are. We went from what was going to be kind of a hobby, and it turned into a full-time thing. When I told my wife what I was planning to do when I got out of the car business, I told her, I said, look, we're just going to, I'll put a few units up front. We live right on the highway, and and we'll sell some, and I'll walk to work every day, and the dog gets to go with me. And she said, well, the idea sounds okay, but she said, that'll never work. And I was like, what are you talking about? She said, well, you're not going to sell 4 or 5 RVs a month and then just be satisfied. She said, you're going to blow it up. But she said, go. Right. And so we did. And then here we are. So, it's in a shorter period of time, it's developed into what we're proud of. We work our tail off with it still every day, and will from now on. So anyway, that kind of gives you a backstory. And then, with Heartland, we worked with Matt, really from the first day.
From day one, right?
Yeah. And then Tim and I have been out there getting them ready. And part of the reason we're so hands-on now is because at that time, if you can imagine, we'd sell, 40 Cyclones a year, sometimes 60. We sold 40 Landmarks a year at that time.
Yeah.
And we were bringing them in, getting them ready, PDI, getting them delivered, meet and greet, selling, contracting,
taking pictures, loading them ourselves.
Yeah, right.
Back in the eBay and the Craigslist days.
Right.
It's funny to sit here and kind of reminisce back through that. I don't think I spend enough time enjoying the renaissance of what things were, right? And it always felt hectic because neither one of us is good at sitting still, right? And so neither one of us is also good at side hobbies, or like the whole idea of, my wife had a very similar reaction to the idea of what we were saying, the scale and the scope of things would be. She's like, yeah, you guys, like, the only guy that I've ever met who's worse at not wanting to be the best than you, Tim, is Tex. And then all that came after she had to pick herself up off the floor, that I was telling her that I thought it was a good idea that I should shut my construction business down. That was doing okay. I mean, we weren't setting the world on fire, but we were steady and we were busy, and but that I should close that down and go sell RVs out of your garage.
Right.
That you can imagine, like, probably wasn't the most polished sales pitch on the first version of the idea.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's probably the moment you realized you could sell.
Maybe
you're into it, right? Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. It was very much one of those things like, okay, we've thought about this, we've prayed this through, and I'm willing to accept, the idea that you feel like, you've got some discernment on this and you think it's really a well thought out, good idea, but man, we're running out of time to screw things up. So, like, if we're going to do this, it's got to be done right.
Yeah.
So, and that sticks with that legitimately sticks with me every time I walk in the door. When you get here and there's nobody else here early in the morning, and you're like, what are we going to do today that makes sure that this thing keeps going and it keeps growing, and it keeps growing in terms of the quality of it. There's a somewhat finite limit on how many units we can get out of any one particular store in a particular month, right? That number can be pretty big, but what are we going to do to make sure that finished product and that customer experience is protected? And that goes to, we went through the origin. I will ask you one more question, Tex. I get this question a lot, and that is, okay, if you're Tim and he's Tex, what does T and S mean? Like, who's the S?
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell them that it's Tex and Tim. It's just a soft S in Tim. But yeah. So I think it'd be a cool moment here. So when we started, we were TNS Enterprises, right? So run us through quickly what TNS Enterprises was, and then we'll talk a little bit about how TNS RV and Sport was not actually supposed to be where this thing ended up.
So we were, I was on the wind down side of the car business, and we'd been through one of those meetings, and I felt like I was just beating my head against the wall again, so I left that meeting and went in and sat down and came up with a name, and it was Tex and Steph, my wife. Excuse me, my wife Stephanie.
I'm heartbroken that it wasn't Tim already.
Right, I know exactly, and then it was TNS Enterprises at that time, and so the T and the S in our emblem, that's how that drew up, and then you'll notice that if you ever look at that emblem, we could bring it up at some point, but so you'll notice that the T actually represents a cross, so it's not just a capital T, and so the blades on the T is actually looks like a sword blade, because there's a lot of this and or any company that'll cut you, if you're not careful. It'll hurt you if you're not careful, in other words,
Right.
And so each of those blades of the T look like a sword blade. And then the S is wrapped around the T, which is a symbol of Steph and I. And there's also what looks like a radiator of a car, that because there's a lot of automotive type stuff that we do, and car background, and being a hot rod guy. So that has that automotive appearance to it. If you look at what goes around the whole thing, it actually looks like an older car grill. And then the blue that's in the emblem actually is the same color as my wife's eyes. So that's kind of where all that came from. But.
Sure. So we went from, we were TNS Enterprises, like original dealer's licenses and banking agreements, and everything was under TNS Enterprises. And we got to a point, and if my timeline is right on this, you'll have to correct me, but probably about a year to a year and a half into our relationship with Heartland, we kind of realized, okay, if we're going to make a change here, this is where we're going to make it. And we were kicking around different ideas, like TNT or something to do more along the lines of Tex and Tim, right? And I remember a particular in-person conversation with Chris Surge, who at the time was our Cyclone and Torque rep from Heartland. And so we were going through all that and kicking around some different names. And I just remember him sitting there very very confused looking, and we're like, what's the problem?
Right.
And he's like, you guys got to get out more. Like, you don't have any idea. Like, you can't get rid of TNS. Like,
right.
You guys don't have any idea that in a very short window of time, you've made quite an impression, and your name is known, right? So that's where we had to start figuring out, like, what are we going to do if we keep TNS, but we're not going to keep it TNS Enterprises. And that's where the RV and Sport came from.
Right.
And the Sport piece has kind of come and gone. We still trade for ATVs and UTVs and, all kinds of wild stuff. I mean, we use the tag around here that we'll trade for anything that doesn't eat. And the only thing that's not for sale is the dog.
Right.
So, but and then it worked out perfectly. We wanted to have a website that would be super easy to remember, and make sense, and also be a working acronym for the actual business name.
Yeah.
Quickly here, the evolution. We talked about going from your shop to renting a little bit of just some dirt directly across the street from your house.
Mhm.
I think we outgrew the idea of the front, quarter acre on your place before we could even realize what a bad idea that was. Fortunately,
Fortunately, the city we had permitting issues that
Yeah.
was part of the thing at that time and locally. And fortunately, they drug that on. And by the time we actually we're starting to gain permits, we had outgrown the idea.
Right. So, went to that modular building, that palace of a building that we had.
Oh, yeah.
It was great as long as it wasn't raining outside.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or too hot or too cold.
Yeah. Or all points in between.
I drove to San Antonio, found that building, and it was a split modular office building. And by the time we got it home, it had almost blown apart.
Yeah.
On the highway. Yeah.
I think that driver told me he had like 10 blowouts between San Antonio and here.
That's right.
It's just not that far of a drive.
Right.
But then, so we really thought we were moving up when on the front piece of the same property that we were leasing the back area, where we were tromping through mud and potholes and, literally having to cut the grass once a week around everything that we had. So the big building that faced the main road there came available, and we're thinking, oh, great. Mr. Steinhauser had moved his feed store out, and everything sounded like a great idea until we went to look at it, right? And we realized that they had left it full of feed when they moved out.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
What did it take? It took a month.
A month.
Just straight cleaning,
every day. We hired a crew. And they spent a month. We spent $20,000 cleaning this interior of this building, and it was every day, morning, noon, and night. Especially at the end, they weren't done yet, and we needed to be moving in. And I told them, guys, look, y'all are 24 hours now, because you got to be done. And so, it was quite the cleaning process.
Right. Yeah. So then, that takes us. We're in that building for 2 years probably ish.
Yeah, right.
To where we got this piece of ground here in Navasota, got this building built, and man, it felt like holy cow, like we really thought we had done something. And this place is great. It's laid out. We were able to lay it out exactly the way that we would want, to use every square inch of the 5 acres that we've got, which has changed. This may have been we've talked about important moments in the history of this business, and the day we got Cyclone, the day we got Landmark, the day we moved into the Navasota location, and then moving into Bryan, and then the acquisition of further lines that have been able to fill those stores. But I'm not sure that I would say that this building getting open didn't change more than any other single moment, minus maybe a couple, right? But because I remember that how much we had to change all the way that we had always done things once we got here, because we suddenly had we tripled the inventory. One day I woke up and I was like, holy cow, we went from 35 units on the ground to 130. And our old system of racks with yellow folders for representing each unit was suddenly, completely impossible to make work. Expansion of staff and all of those things. So a lot of change. I spent a lot of nights up here working until 10, 11 o'clock to revamp the way that we got all that done. That allowed us to continue to scale, right? So the invention or the introduction of all those processes. What have we missed, boys, in terms of what we looked to try to get done here today?
Well, we obviously set out initially with a target each time to have an hour-long podcast and get that information out, and for that time period with each. And we've just about ran through an hour here, and I think the content is not going to be difficult to come up with. I think that once especially when we start, because we'll have guests on here, and we'll have GMs and reps and our compliance officers and all of this aspect that goes into the RV business and the dealership business. We'll have all of these people involved. So we have some really interesting things coming up. There's probably some people out there that really will be interested in how the insider aspect of all of this stuff works. So, as far as what we've missed, I mean, a ton, it's coming up.
Really just want to make sure that we weren't forgetting anything that we had just set out, like, hey, what's today? We need to cover this.
Sure.
Yeah, there's been a lot of planning that went into this, right? I mean, we only missed our launch date by 48 days.
Right.
Like February 1st came late this year.
Right. So we're right on schedule.
Right. And today running an hour and a half behind our original time that we looked to do this because I bumped the mute button on my microphone inadvertently, which led us down a complete technological rabbit hole that we're ill-equipped to handle. I'll tell you, if I am the IT guy in a room, that's a bad room to be in. So
right.
It's probably ironic.
We did this a lot like we used to work on our first RVs. If we had a generator that wouldn't start, we'd take the back AC off and start there. Right. Had to be back there, so we would every 30-minute job took 3.5 hours, but and so, I think this will be interesting. I think the interaction is good. The company is good. And then getting some other people involved with either from our perspective, answering questions that come up before each podcast and or having somebody join us. And so I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be good. And we hope that we're passing information along that will make somebody's RV process more fun, Sure. And so that's what we're after here. So the dedication then makes it worth it, so.
Right. Matt, any closing statements from you, sir?
No, I just got a lot to cover. It's going to take a lot of time to take a deep dive into the service and parts world, but just transparency is what we want to do, show you how we operate and how we're striving to be better and, touch base on some of the changes as we make them.
Awesome. And then every meeting, so everyone knows that we always close with a prayer. So if we're all done, Tim, could you wrap us up?
I will. I want to cover two quick things. So we've been scrolling a banner here across the bottom that has our home website, tsrvs.com. You'll see it on all the banners. You'll see it on shirts, hats, everywhere, as well as all of the major social media outlets. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. We're probably on some things that I don't even know about. But this project is really going to be largely a reflection not only of the information that we have and we want to share, but shaped largely by the feedback that we get from those who choose to tune in. So we'd ask that no matter where you found this, whether it's on the social media platform or it's going to be posted to YouTube, we're going to work on making sure we can try to get all of it linked to all the different landing spots where you get your favorite podcasts, whether it be Apple or Spotify. We'd ask that you would like it, share it, follow, leave reviews, if you will, that anything that we can get in terms of that type of interaction from the listeners is only going to help boost the signal and make it more and more accessible to anyone and everyone out there that wants to get it. We also have set up a new email inbox, and that's been displayed on the blue bar right below me here. That for anybody that is listening that would like to interact, we are recording these and going to post them. Eventually, we aspire to move this to more of a live stream platform that would be probably hosted through YouTube, where we would be able to literally interact in a chat during a podcast. But for now, we've got podcast at tsrvs.com. Any of those email submissions that come in, I will get them directly. That email box is linked directly to my Outlook, so I can toggle between the leads email, my email, and I'll also be able to monitor the podcast. And we'll have a segment of each episode that we do. That's the three of us anyway, where we do cover at least some of those questions, and we'll bank all of them. And because I think we're going to get several, there's going to be a lot of overlap, right? So we'll get that distilled down to some really hot topics that the listeners are going to want to see covered. So with that, we appreciate you tuning in. We look forward to doing this again. Right now, the goal is to try to get one of these a week. And if I feel like if I can wrangle these two guys to stand still in front of a camera for an hour a week, I will be winning dramatically. So
you might notice I keep moving around because this is the longest I've sat still since
100%, man. I'm right there with you.
Bed. Yeah.
But I'll close us out here, boys.
Okay.
Dear Heavenly Father, we do come to you today in thanks. We thank you for this opportunity that you've given us, not only with what TNS has become, but with this particular opportunity to share our story, share our perspectives, and to truly make an attempt to bring value to our customers, both those that we've already met and those that we've not met yet. We look forward to the blessings and the challenges that you will bring us, and we ask all of these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, everybody. We'll talk to you
next time.